Let's talk about the transfer portal right now. What's going on at USC? Everyone wants to know this. Is USC in trouble? Is the program sick out there? First, Malachi Nelson, the former five-star quarterback, he's in the portal. Corey Foreman, just within the last couple of hours, formerly one of, if not the top players in the country, he's in the portal. Damani Jackson, former five-star DB, he's in the portal. So what's happening? Is this cause for concern or maybe even alarm? Well, I know a lot of you like to hate on USC. I'm accused of being one of those people a lot. So it will greatly pain me, actually it won't at all, to let you know that this is not a stage 5 crisis like it's being made out to be. I mean, Malachi Nelson, I'm just going to shoot you straight, was not about to play at USC. He was a ways away from getting on the field for USC. He wasn't good enough to play for him. Corey Foreman, it was not an impact player for them. Now, if you want to go down the whole side road of why weren't they developed to the point where they were, not even my area of expertise, nor is it most people's who actually end up questioning that sort of thing. Damani Jackson, look, I'm not going to cast aspersions on any defensive player there because their entire defense needed an overhaul philosophically, maybe also personnel-wise. Here's what I'm telling you. I don't look at this in a vacuum. So Lincoln Riley went and fired his defensive coordinator and brought in a guy from across town at UCLA. And he had a press conference, and Lincoln Riley said something that kind of went unnoticed. I thought it was a huge deal, as big as words can be. And he said, we're assessing everything. We're going to change everything about who we are. Everything, he said. You listen to that? And he talked about everything all the way down to practice habits, and philosophy around here is going to be defense first. Lincoln Riley said that, not his cousin, not his estranged sister-in-law. Lincoln Riley said that. Like Mr. Xbox, Mr. Hang 50 a game said defense first around here now. Well, I would imagine if he's serious about that, that coincides with a total philosophy shift. And if they're real about that, one of the first signs was going to be some of the really nice-looking ornaments they brought in prior classes were not going to have a home there anymore. This is actually a sign, to me at least, that what he said had a lot of validity to it. There's no guarantee it's going to work. In fact, Lincoln Riley's never done it that way. But other successful coaches have. So maybe he will be successful with that. But you can't just say, we're going to be different tomorrow. We're going to be different the next day. You don't just say it, guys. There actually has to be like tangible movement behind that idea. And in some cases, you got to show kids where the exit door is. I mean, these dudes won't hurt to find other landing spots. But if they're serious about shifting who they are from a philosophical approach, a lot of those players weren't going to have a home there anymore. And that's how I take it. So it's not a crisis at all. If anything, I mean, if I'm wanting them to shift philosophy out there, it may even end up being a good thing. They brought in Will Howard, the quarterback from Kansas State. I guarantee you this, there won't be a scene in the Los Angeles Coliseum like he had against Iowa State, his last game in Manhattan, Kansas, half a foot of snow on the ground. Well, check that. There won't be a home game for USC that looks like that. I don't know what happens when they go to like Iowa City in November. And that brings me to my next point. They didn't have an option. They're going to the Big Ten next year. Do you understand how hideous it would be to watch Iowa play USC right now? Do you understand physically what they would do? That is the high schoolers taking a field trip to the elementary school when it comes to a physical mismatch. USC's got to do something, and I think they are. And this is a side effect of it. It's not always the worst thing in the world when formerly highly rated players exit your program. Sometimes it's a necessary evil. Well, by the way, just another thing to watch, signing days tomorrow, portal season still. What kind of player are they looking for right now? Another way to put that is, how much have the critical factors and critical traits they look for in players at specific positions changed since Lincoln Riley decided to go in a new direction? That's where rubber meets the road on this stuff. Next up, huge news earlier today. Really big news. We've been waiting for it. It finally dropped. Evan Stewart, former five-star receiver at Texas A&M, is in the transfer portal. This is a big one. This is an immediate impact guy no matter where he lands. We think Alabama's going to be in this. Michigan, Ohio State, there's some traction there. He's right up the road from Texas or down the road from Texas. Florida State. So there are usual suspect type programs that immediately stand out. Evan Stewart would be, I think, a take at any of those places. I think that. I don't know that. He'd be a take at Pate State. Here's the other thing you need to know. Sometimes when these highly rated kids go into the portal, you get word pretty quick, he's going to go to the highest bidder. In fact, a lot of times that's the case in the NIL world. I'm not telling you Evan Stewart's about to go play for free, or Eva Stewart, as the slider there said. I'm not telling you he's about to go play for free. I do not think this is going to take the shape of the bidding war that some other high-profile portal entries have taken. I'm going to put it to you like that. And so it's still early on. This just happened in the last few hours, but I would also fairly assume there's been some due diligence done already before he decided to enter his name there. So keep an eye on that. That's a big one. We're going to talk about it every day until he signs somewhere. Kaden Green, that's the tackle from Oklahoma. Started 6 or 7 games for him this year, went in the portal. He's landed at Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz is one of the talks of the sport right now. They've got a top 25 recruiting class, and then they're doing what they're doing in the portal. They got him from Oklahoma. They flipped Toriano Pride. They didn't flip him. They got Toriano Pride out of the portal from Clemson a few days ago. That's a 4-star corner. Marcus Carroll's a 4-star running back. They got him as well. They have taken what they did on the field this season, and they've done exactly what you always hope. You always hope on-field results will yield forward-leaning portal and recruiting success. Well, it's happened. In both lanes, it's happened for Eli Drinkwitz. And I think just today, Courtney Crutchfield's a 4-star wide receiver out of high school, out of Arkansas, got him too. So I don't think it's a secret anymore. The secret's out. But if you find someone that is just kind of oblivious to this, buy all the stock in Missouri from them you can. Because that's a program, not a team, not a one-hit wonder. That is a program that's trending up. Oregon, same deal. The public, for example, with Oregon, sees that they just lost to Washington twice, and they laugh. They joke about Oregon. The staff just buckled their chin strap and went to work that much harder. You know they got Dylan Gabriel, the Oklahoma quarterback, out of the portal. They also went and got Dante Moore, just for good measure. You got some programs out there standing over a Salvation Army drum, ringing a bell, looking for any guy with his arm still attached to play quarterback for him. And then you got Dan Lanning and his staff saying, we got one, not good enough. Make it 2. Let them fight it out. Who cares? So Dante Moore, who was the top quarterback in the last cycle, was at UCLA. He's now at Oregon. And Dylan Gabriel's like 37 years old, so he's got one more year to play. He's at Oregon. They may put together the best defensive line class in the country come signing day tomorrow. We're saying things about Oregon, in other words, even with how lofty they've recruited in the past, that we haven't found ourselves saying. So, the jokes are valid right now. Couldn't overcome Washington. Got news for you. No one else could to this point either. Texas is going to have their hands full with them. They couldn't overcome Washington. It's funny. It's a punchline right now. Let's just keep an eye on the old Ducks out there. Something tells me they're not going away. If anything, they're just going to get a little bit more in your face this time next year. Marvin Jones, talked about him, transferring from Georgia. The edge player there, he's headed to Florida State. That's not a surprise. We talked about that. That was our expectation. Number 20 overall player in the portal. They needed depth at that position. Big pickup from Mike Norvell. There is so much going on in the portal. I just, doing some digging early before the show. Walter Nolan. Don't have a whole lot to say about him. I strongly lean Ole Miss. I'm like 90 to 95% Ole Miss there. A.J. Harris was the former 5-star DB at Georgia, went in the portal. I still think Auburn. I haven't heard anything to sway me off that. Cam Ward, the quarterback from Washington State, who you know has taken visits. He went to Miami. You know, he's been out there for a little while. I need to remind you, the NFL is also a possibility for him. Now, I don't know what kind of grade he's gotten back. I would imagine it's not first rounder. It would be a no-brainer that he's going to play on Sundays. But FSU, Miami, like those are names that you hear a lot with him. No decision there yet. Jamon Dumas Johnson, You know, there's a lot of Auburn smoke there. I think it got out that he took a trip to Kentucky as well. So there's some familiar names. There's some new names getting in the mix really seriously here. There are so many names to keep an eye on that it's impossible to wrap it all up in one segment.